Hi, welcome to today's podcast. I'm Mary Abazia, and with me is Tom Spitali and Sean Wellham. And AI is actually Wikipedia. It's one of the most searched words, so it's touching all of us in different ways. And of course, we put the lens of strategic marketing on it to say, well, what does it really mean for us and our clients? And so I'm going to open this up and ask Tom, why don't you set the stage for us on this?
Well, I think that what we have discovered, I know what we have discovered, is that when you ask or do any research really about the implications of AI for marketing, most of the applications, most of the content, most of the information is about how you can do executional marketing, how marketers can take some of the tasks that they have to execute a plan, mostly around things like creating communication pieces, headlines, content calendars, or even how AI chatbots can be used to streamline customer service if that falls into the purview of an executional marketer. That's what's really being written about. But we believe that the true impact of AI is going to be felt around how do you use it to create differentiation, unique products and services that are customer focused. And so that's kind of the topic today. I mean, I know I have some thoughts about it that I've shared with you guys, but I don't want to just keep monologuing here. So let's hear what you guys have to think about implications of AI for strategic marketing.
Sean?
Yeah, I think Tom, you're right. To me, the way I've been using it and I've seen it used successfully is as a sort of a very low paid, high performing assistant and a very smart assistant. You know, someone you can say, give me 10 ideas about what this market might be thinking about this, and it will brainstorm ideas. You have to remember it doesn't know, it can't know, it can only reference existing materials. Therefore, it doesn't really innovate as much as curate and present ideas. But when you think about an awful lot of the success we have in the classroom and in the workshops that we run is when people start to create a framework and build off each other's thoughts. Someone says, hey, why don't we do this with an extended warranty? Why don't we increase the battery life? Why don't we take some weight out of this and do a different version? Then someone will leap in and say, oh, yeah, if we did that, we could then save on shipping costs. That might help us then to and so on. And that building blocks is so important. I think one of the things AI does is gives you a rapid start to those building blocks. Yes, some of them will be inappropriate, some of them will be nonsensical, maybe, but an awful lot of them will spark thoughts. And that's really that pinball machine of innovation that we see when a class is really humming along, is when ideas bounce off each other and it goes a little bit crazy. AI is a great Kickstarter, I think. That's one of its huge benefits, I think.
Yeah, to add to what you're saying, Sean, is we've been kickstarting our session. Well, we've been starting ourselves a lot more, especially because we work across all the different industries. So we can get up to speed so much faster understanding, especially, technical things like medical devices and that. And then we can ask the basic questions that are a good strategic marketer is, tell me about what's going on in the market. And there's the appropriate way to prompt those. What's going on with customers and their needs, and then what's going on with competitors. And of course, it's not perfect, but you start to have a much broader, as you're saying, a much broader set to start with, as people are then trying to apply their experience and their insights to what really is going on. So we've seen it really be a lot more efficient and a lot more productive in our sessions. So
Yeah, it doesn't replace, it accentuates, doesn't it? It's like, I'm going to steal Tom's lines just to annoy him because it's our last podcast before the holidays here. It's
I'm
the
already annoyed.
hybrid human AI hybrid. You know, the one gives you breadth and speed and comprehensive, and the other one has to sort through the bits and make the connections and then maybe trigger an innovative spark. So, Tom, I've stolen your thunder. What do you want to say?
Well, at least you didn't steal my example of it. I mean, we talk a lot about, we have in recent weeks talked about Barnes and Noble's success in the age of Amazon, and that Barnes and Noble opened 30 new stores this year. So they weren't killed by Amazon. we talked a lot about the original insight that really drove Barnes and Noble's success, or at least a lot of it was that, people look at book shopping as a form of entertainment. The piece of data that drove that insight was that people were spending 3 times longer in their stores than they were spending in other types of retail establishments. My question would be, would AI have ever taken that information and said, well, of course, dummy, people are, looking at this as entertainment? No, I think that had to come from a human insight. So on the front end, you've got AI that can say, hey, I crunched the data. People are spending 3 times longer in your stores than other types of retail. So that's a kind of a thing that you can imagine an analytics application of AI to generate. But where the humans then got to come in and ask the question of people who are spending that time in the store is like, why are you spending that kind of time? And then so that's the middle piece, the human piece. You got the Kickstarter, as you guys talked about, where you got some interesting information, data, thought starters. You ask the human questions, why, and you listen for cues, and you come up with the great insight that, well, it's a form of entertainment for these people. But then on the back end, I think this is where I'm discovering it's really cool. When you have that insight and then you say to AI, hey, give me some ideas for how I can redesign a bookstore that is a place where people come to be entertained. I can see AI coming up with ideas like, hey, how about a coffee bar? How about comfortable couches? And so there is a role for humans in there. Maybe I think it's somewhere in the middle, but that middle piece is just so imperative. It's like, without it, it's like a sandwich that's just a bread sandwich. The meat is the human insights.
And I guess it also layers up, doesn't it? Because you can't go to an AI, certainly today, and say, I've got this business, it's a bookseller. I've got this is my demographic of my customer base. This is the transaction history and blah. Give it all the facts and data. Then say, how can I differentiate it? It might come up with an element of entertainment within the mix. It might not, but you almost need to come up with how can we make this more entertaining? And then it's building on those prompts. If you've used AI, it's then saying, what about if this though? And then saying that wouldn't work because of this. Have you thought about this? And almost have this conversation. That's really what generative AI models like ChatGPT, they're conversational, they're language engines in a way. So learning to almost converse with it to shape thoughts. And I find it useful in that direction. As long as you remember that you're the one with your hand on the steering wheel and the AI is the assistant, don't hand everything over because they're not always right, but they're always very confident. And that's something to watch out for, right? You need to make sure that you're learning from them.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked playing with, I like your thought of it being your assistant, and we were writing the intro for our book. And I played with a lot of versions where I said, now make it where the customer is the center of it more, and then make it more friendly and then make it more professional. And it was just really nice to see how you could ask it to help you with different tones. And then I said, how readable is this? And it said, well, it's pretty good, but here's some ideas on how you could edit it a little bit more. So really, it's not a one and done. It really is having that conversation kind of with yourself and saying, this is almost there, but we're missing something.
It's like a really annoying assistant. It's like, it's so politely. I imagine it being some highly educated, and of course I'm from this part of the world, but a highly educated English butler. And you're saying, what do you think of this letter? And it goes, it's very good, sir. I've just tidied it up for clarity and conciseness for you. And you're like, thanks a lot. But it is actually really handy because it gives you that sort of feedback. But I always thought it has, maybe it's just my problem with authority figures, but I couldn't help but reading everything in a condescending tone. I almost had an argument with it, like, don't speak to me like that, chat. But I didn't go there because I think he would win the argument. But
yeah, he just say, you're done. I'm not giving you any more feedback. You're done. You're off the ChatGPT for a week.
There is, the very important human part of this that we have to remember. And it's funny, I was a part of a panel at Caltech where we were all talking about the implications of AI. I had the marketing angle, and others had supply chain, change management, and literally everybody ended up talking about where do humans fit in, and it's really important. Humans fit in by, providing the kind of inputs that you guys are talking about that bring, humanity to whatever we're trying to do. I think the danger is this, and I'm a little bit, I feel a little bit bad about this. About 5 years ago, I wrote an article that said that I thought that AI was going to allow marketers to get a lot more done faster, and that it would lead to maybe individual marketers having more product responsibility, which might lead to fewer marketing jobs. And literally that could happen. I mean, I know that I spend 2/3 less of my time on content generation and publication now because of AI. It just, as you guys said, it kickstarts the whole thing. But you have to, I think the point I want to make, Mary, is that I hope that the time saving is reinvested in pursuing insights. Marketers tell us all the time that they run out of time for spending time with customers and trying to figure out what their needs are, how they're using the products. I hope that's where the time gets reinvested, rather than in just cutting staff and giving everybody more responsibility. That's the promise, at least here, for AI.
Well, I really I think that we can actually look at it through different industries too, because it's not just like marketing is this, one thing, like you're just doing this. So I said, well, how can AI help in a couple of different industries? For example, with the IT, it's building different value propositions where AI is actually built in as part of the product or service. But in finance, if you're a marketer, you're dealing with what customer needs are around risk reduction and fraud detection, and even reading algorithms more appropriately. And if you're in healthcare, as a marketer, your job is to do completely different things like drug discovery, and how are you going to take that to the market? Even what was it? Oh, and even the administrative stuff, around healthcare, because there's so much that gets complicated that can be more simplified. So to your point, Tom, I think that depending on your industry, if you really are connected with what the customer and the market needs are, you're gonna have more time to spend on the things that are really important like that.
It reminds me a little bit of when back in the 90s, there was a big focus on outsourcing to third parties in different countries. And the mantra then was outsource the non-value added stuff, outsource payment processing, outsource refund or documentation or storage, and then focus more on the value added elements, the customer contact, the marketing, the product development. And it's a similar thing with AI, I think. Not quite so, because I think AI has a huge input into those value adding services. But the more you can use AI in a business to streamline and to create those efficiencies, which is not what we're about. We're about the innovation and the forward look. But AI, it can liberate, because it can free resources, to the point you made earlier about how do we reinvest that time smartly? Well, you always invest it in customers and insights and developing a better product that's more closely tuned to the customer needs. And anything that AI can do to free up that time to give you that space is a good thing. Not only can it help you once you're there with the prompts and the frameworks, it can actually free up some time. So it's a broad aid to the business, I think, in more ways than just marketing.
I would love to see sort of the progression of how a marketer does their job as follows. This is kind of what we've been doing. When we're preparing for a workshop, we go to Chat GPT and we say, what are some of the needs that customers in this XYZ industry have? And we get a starter list of, what we would call benefits sought or needs. Then what I would love to see marketers do is to take that original list and do kind of our Vietnam card sort activity with clients. Just say, I'm going to go and I'm going to show this list to clients. I'm going to have clients tell me what they think of this list, what we've missed, and actually put the final list in order. Come back to the office, you can use that information to create a really, really good segmentation. And then maybe internally with your own company, you know, Chat GPT or AI can't tell you which, you know, what drives value in a client. That's something that's a discussion with your finance team, your executives, but you can figure out who your target, you know, which segments are most attractive. You can use AI then once again to kind of come up with a starter list of ideas of how to serve those target segments. And then in dialogue with your R&D staff, with other people, with the service deliverers in your company, you can figure out which ones really make sense. So it's to me, it's kind of a flow of, you know, AI generated ideas, human dialogue to sort through those ideas, another level of hypothesis generation that AI can help you with, and then ultimately the humans in your company figure out what makes sense, and you start, you know, testing maybe new value propositions. But that's how I see the flow ideally happening with humans and AI working together.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, this is a big topic, and we would love, you know, often we have people give us feedback on these podcasts. So we, as always, would love to hear if you have some thoughts on how you're using AI already, or even how you think that, you know, it's going to progress over the years. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.